All right, folks, we're going to get started here. Working. Okay. So I'd like to call this meeting of the Town of Princess Anne. We're having a legislative / work session this evening. So we're going to start off with our legislative meeting Tuesday, June 20th, 2023, 6 p.m. here at the Town Hall Conference Center or conference room. So with the legislative meeting, we call that to order. We have a pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Like for everyone to join me in a moment of silence, and please keep the family of the gentleman who passed away in the accident last night out on 13. He was from Princess Anne. Just keep them in his family as well. Thank you for that. So now we have a motion to accept the agenda for our legislative meeting. So moved. Motion to approve. So we'll go right on. We have a resolution for the 2023-05, 2022 multi-hazard mitigation plan. I'd like for Paul to give us a brief description of that, or the briefest as possible, for us to get through that and understand what we're approving.
Right, well, the plan itself is very hard to document. It's 300 pages. This is a plan that is adopted by throughout the state, counties, municipalities, and it's all about dealing with unusual situations. It's having environmental stuff, situations. So all they're asking is that everybody, all the governments have a plan on how to deal with it. The plans are all very simple. If you're interested, you can read the document attached you have in the town office.
We got
a banking document. Yes, that's a good requirement.
And typically it's a document that just changes are made each year or whenever it's passed, and those changes are pretty much set in stone. Not a whole lot that we can do to change that. Is that correct?
That's correct. This is a plan that we need to adopt so that you can possibly get rent from. Right.
So do we need to read anything into the record? We need to
This is just a resolution we were adopting this hazard mitigation just plan, which is a document about that.
So call for a motion to adopt the 2023-05, 2022 multi-hazards mitigation plan. We have a motion. And we have a second. Any opposed? Very good. All in favor? Aye. Right. Any further discussion? Oh,
You have a quorum, right?
motion, resolution passes. So next we have a code change for our trash collection, and we have the first reading on that.
The change that's being made throughout the code is to reference each property instead of each property owner. So everywhere the owner is with Jeremy, it's been lined through, and that's the change. It's just to have the code address properties instead of
A year and entertain a motion to approve the code change. Is there a second?
Exactly, you guys voting on. That we provide with the agenda tonight. Where you got that, where you agree on.
Should be an agenda in your.
I don't think
Where you guys, where you guys voting on right now.
Do you have the,
I have a copy that I brought down with me. I don't see one in here.
do we have that copy? We looked at it last time, we talked about it, we made changes to it, and he was gonna just make those changes and present it tonight.
It's, I have this.
That's something we can do pretty quick and look at it, or we need to postpone it.
Let's give it a shot. It's problem. So. Citations will fall, crash citations.
So this is the same thing that when we had a discussion about the trash can?
Yeah.
So the trash can, is that in here too?
So that's actually the work session thing, is we're gonna just have a consensus to go out, the letter we have to go out about the actual trash collection. That's not part of this code.
That's not part of this one.
This code is just about the fees associated with trash collection. Explain it again a little further. I need to turn this off and everybody hear it. Just kind of like you just explained before, if you don't mind, just go through that one more time.
Yeah. Throughout the trash section of the code, it refers to property unknown. Based on discussion, we ended up saying it's property owner or just ordering out the citations against property.
Definitely, it's just that one. You like to take a look at it?
Yes, sir.
Could you explain that again, Mr. Bowman, more clearly? This is an amendment to do what?
It's an amendment to the trash section of the code.
So fines will be related to the occupant rather than the owner.
But it'll go against the properties.
Okay, and also, has there been an agreement among the council on how much the fine would be?
I think it's stated right there in the second page.
Because that's something that we haven't discussed thus far.
But that's been in the code for quite a while.
Hasn't changed. But the main thing,
No change in that.
There is a fine in the code, okay, so what's the actual fine, so
so is there a fine associated with the collection fee? Because this is all concerning the collection fee, the $140 a year that we charge. Right. But there's no fine included in this code, right? Or
Pass it back.
okay, so the fine, the penalty is actually a sense of a late fee. And this is when someone violates the charter in a sense of not having their garbage bag or anything like that.
Right. All right. That's gonna be this separate letter.
which
Bag up
we're
trash.
gonna discuss tonight and look at in the work session.
The code section about paying for the trash.
Right. That's where I was confused, because rather than a fine, it is really a late fee for not paying the trash collection. Right.
I do know the fee was at like $75, it's like going up to 140 now.
It's right there on the second page.
Okay, thank you. Second page here, spoken page, what shall be collectible against the property? I don't see anything about. Cost. 30% here, yeah, late fee equal to 25% of the amount of the exposure fee. So 25% of 140, roughly around 35. 35 would be exact. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get that back? Thank you. All right. Does anybody have any other questions? Does that clarify what we were talking about here?
Richard Cronbacker, County Fund, who the devil is the property? The property is property owner. Property can't, that was means to pay. Unless you're gonna put them in the tax sale for non-payment, and that's back to the property. So it seems like it's really not. Anything. A non-payer will want it from tax sale, and the tax sale is really the property. But if you're actually paying it, for the occupant, you're not gonna be a felon. By naming the property, quote unquote property. And I thought the intent was the occupant, the person leaving the tract.
Still gonna go against the owner. On the SDAT record.
Correct.
Right.
So property owner. Succeeds in nothing.
Doesn't push it against the tenant.
Correct. I thought that was the intent.
I think you're misconstruing this entire issue, this amendment here, is totally separate from lines as part of the intent, correct? This is just strictly an internal bill.
Okay. So, yeah, what Robbie was just saying is the county objected to the language of the property owner, and they wanted just property. So it can be made part of the tax sale.
Another question, Mr. Wilbur. How long does the town allow this to go on? Is this a one-time thing, if someone's late for the first year, could their property go up for sale over $140? Or is this something that the town will sort of guide over maybe a 2-year period or 3-year period? I just think it's really unfair to put someone's home up for a tax sale over $140 or so many extenuating circumstances that happen where people become ill or they end up in a nursing home or hospital for an extended amount of time. So, I'd like it to be some sort of compromise there between the town and the landlord.
What I would say is commissioners can decide when do they want to put the property into tax sale or not, whether it's,
Should that be in this document?
no, it doesn't have to.
I mean, it should be the same for everybody, right?
Right.
So,
If you want to wait until 2 years worth of trash hasn't been paid, put it in tax sale, that's.
that's not what we do, if they don't pay their taxes. We don't give them an extra year.
No, you don't.
Right, there's also been measures taken by other municipalities throughout the state of Maryland that prevents local development from selling homes without the fee reaching a certain point. There are many places around the state where they're selling homes for a matter of $25 to $50 or $250. And there has to be some sort of limit there, you know. So I think it's fair for the occupant or the land.
When it's time to send accounts to the county to be put into tax sale, I think the commissioners can decide. ones do you want to put in there, but use a standard rule, don't pick
Well,
and choose.
it's- We're gonna use a standard rule, why isn't it put right in the code, so it's safe for everyone?
And
And,
put it in there if you
and
would like.
commissioners have not normally been given a list and been said, hey, I mean, I wouldn't be comfortable with a list of names and say, hey, this one goes in, this one doesn't. You know, I mean, that just have like a,
So if you want to, you can table this and we can bring it back to the next meeting. What standard would you want to put in there? You want to make it each year, every 2 years?
well, the main reason we're doing this is so that we don't have people that go year after year after year for payments.
Right.
And we can keep them from getting it out of hand to the point where they can't pay. So,
That you've had some big delinquencies.
We had.
on
we had
track.
and no way to collect or put them in with a tax sale. So I understand what Mr. Frederick is saying, that $140 is a little ridiculous to lose your house over a tax sale, but also just, you know, you have to have something that's in place, I think, for everybody, not just on an ads. Is that
There definitely should be something in place, but it should also be fair. As you guys mentioned, year after year after year, that's 3 years. Very need any consensus on, what the guidelines standing to be. This one is definitely necessary, the amendments, well, I just think it should be a little more clear than this. 10 years is a huge difference from 2 to 3 years. And I think, some of the history of this, while we're here having this at the table today, is because some of these bills have gone nearly 10 years. Less. So have to set the standard and make it a fair playing field across the board for everyone.
And that's why we have work sessions too, right? So we can get this worked out. That's a great point, and we should. Right, we should.
It's your commissioner call.
But well,
Then how often do you want it to go to tax day?
any ideas from you guys, anybody else?
I'd say 2 years rather than 1. 3 years would be a bit more reaching for the town. I'd say it'd be fair for the town and the occupant owners. 2 fiscal years, rather than just 1. That's a happy medium between 1 to 3. Rather than 10 years.
Those changes will bring it back. That change, that
Bring
change,
it back to the next legislative session.
okay. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and move on to our second reading of the FY 23-24 budget. Read through this then. Discuss it.
Yeah.
The town of Princess Anne legislative session ordinance number 2023-001, an ordinance to adopt the annual budget and appropriation ordinance of the town of Princess Anne consisting of the operating budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022. Whereas the president and commissioner of the town of Princess Anne, Maryland have prepared and submitted a proposed budget for the town of Princess Anne fiscal year 2024. And whereas the president and commissioners of the town of Princess Anne, Maryland have complied with all the requirements of the charter of the code of the town of Princess Anne, and have submitted the proposed budget they consider proper. Be it enacted and ordained by the president and commissioner of the town of Princess Anne, Maryland, in the legislative session with the operating budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024, is hereby approved and finally adopted for such fiscal year. The funds for all expenditures for the proposed specified in the operating budget beginning July 1, 2023, and ending June 30th, 2024, are hereby appropriated in the amounts hereinafter specified to and the purpose hereinafter indicated as follows. Operating budget attached here to is exhibit A. Section 2, and be it further enacted and ordained by the president and commissioners of the town of Prince Sam, Maryland, in legislative session, that subject to the laws of Maryland, the charter and code of Princess Anne relating to budgetary and fiscal procedures, and amounts specified or approved, appropriated and authorized to be distributed for the purposes specified in the sums itemized for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2023, and ending June 30th, 2024. Section 3, and be it further enacted and ordained by the President and Commissioners of the town of Prince Sam, Maryland, in legislative session. This act shall be known as the annual budget and appropriation ordinance for the town of Prince Sam. Section 4, and it be further enacted and ordained by the President and Commissioner of the town of Prince Sam, Maryland, in legislative session, that the budget is finally adopted by this act shall take effect on July 1, 2023. The budget and the appropriated ordinances was introduced and read in the meeting of the President and Commissioner of Prince Sam, Maryland, held on the 5th day of June, 2023, passed second. Thereafter, the ordinance was finally passed by the President and Commissioners of Prince Sam on the 20th day of June, 2023, in accordance with the Charter of Prince Sam, Maryland. The substance of this ordinance shall be published at least twice in the newspaper or newspapers having generated circulation in the town of Prince Sam, and shall be posted in a conspicuous place in the office of the commissioner. Signed by the commissioner.
This budget require vote tonight.
Yes, sir.
There are certain changes we had. All for haven't changed.
What's that? We had the first reading last time. Nothing has changed since the first reading.
The council agreed to allocate something to a local economic development. So we say county economic development corporation, they're responsible for helping to create jobs in such an impoverished area, Portage County and the state of Maryland. The town has historically allocated funding to EDC. Still doesn't look like they're in this line item for them here. Community engagement. But also.
No, it wasn't.
Also, the allocations that are being allocated to other areas haven't been changed either. Local fire department, the town's only allocated 20,000 to it, and they have a very big responsibility. They not only serve the town, Princeton, but also surrounding area. So I would like to see the town allocate more funding to the local fire department. Community engagement, underfunded. Chamber of Commerce, underfunded over $1,500. And it looks like Main Street, Princeton, is being overfunded. To allocate 15,000 to Main Street, not only 1,500 to the chamber. Absolutely nothing to economic development, it's just unfair. So I don't necessarily agree with the budget being bad, I don't like to be on record, not agreeing with it.
I thought. Okay, yes. So, community engagement continues on over to the third page. And we've had discussions in several meetings leading up to our, first reading, and these were the numbers that we put in for our first meeting to be decided on work session prior to that.
Also, there was 5,000 that was supposed to have been allocated to the chamber rather than to Main Street. It's supposed to have been evenly divided.
No, no, sir.
Funding was supposed to have been evenly divided between Main Street, EDC, and the chamber. That's the way it should be.
No, sir.
That would be the fairest one.
No, sir, that was not what we discussed. Do you remember that?
I think he left out right when we, before we agreed on the change. Based it off the letter that was submitted.
Right, we did that on, for the letter they was submitted, the fire department was for years 11,000, if we moved that up to 20, I certainly agree that it would be great if we could fund. More with our fire department, and that's certainly a goal that we should look at in years to come. I'll be honest, this budget is, fairly tight. It doesn't do a lot of things that we probably, would like to do.
Also, I have another question, Mr. President, if you don't mind. Considering, the vast difference between Main Street at 15,000, East at 5,000, I was assuming that it's going to be equally distributed among the two, so it would be 10,000 for each.
Commissioner Johnson just reminded us that I believe we made the final decisions on those numbers. During work session when, you had to leave early, so it was done during that, and it was presented this way, this exact budget that you have in front of you now was presented at our first reading, so it was there then. I think we've historically, Main Street has been given around $15,000.
I looked back over the previous budgets from the previous 9 years I've been in office, and it's never been 15,000. It's always been 5,000
No,
for EDC and for me.
5,000 been standard pretty much every year for the EDC, but,
I would like to see both of them allocated more funds because that's what we need it.
we really don't have, we don't have that funding to allocate it. This much.
I think it should be fair.
One of the, challenges we've had, was not having a town manager in place. It's trying to get this budget together that would work and would, we could live within for now. I'll make it clear, and I've asked this question 100 times just to know that I was clear about it, but this is a working document. If there is any time during the year, we, can have a report showing that we have extra money or that it's money that can be allocated somewhere, that's when I think we have it in a work session to talk about that and where those things would go. But at this point, we've got a document that's we can live within. Hopefully, there's always things that have to change. The police department is amending budgets throughout the year with different grants that they get, so it's just simple putting on a legislative agenda and amending the agenda if you see that there's something else we can do. But we tried to stay with the historical numbers that we have done in the past. The chamber, I believe, was a new one. I'm not sure I've ever seen a chamber donation here from the commissioners. We actually cut down, I think, on a couple of things, didn't we? We also looked at our back here in the town activities. And we kept everything the same, but I think we
I don't see any change in the
we took, I know we took Halloween down from 1,500 to 500.
People tourism down from 2,000 to 750.
That's right, yep, the tourism down, so we took a couple of things away there. That we adjusted, and those were only, and the discussion that we had with the Halloween was, there's several events going on at the same time, and we've already bought a lot of the props and stuff that we can use, and a lot of it is volunteers from the community will come up with their car and set up, and we kind of provide the parking spots in the area, and so, yeah, we could still hold the same event for 5 months.
And I think that was, when I mentioned that was reserved for the town to allocate 1,500 to Halloween and only 500 to Juneteenth.
Well,
Would like to see the town allocate more for Juneteenth. Glad that change was made in regard to Halloween, but that 500 was deducted from Halloween because
well, it's
some
sort
of
of,
it
it's,
to the Juneteenth.
it sort of was one of several things that we discussed and talked about moving around to try to stay within our budget, so we weren't roughly trying to save and not just take and move from one spot to another.
I think we moved around the town activities to give it to the chamber.
That's right.
Because the
Yeah,
chamber was
that
250.
makes sense. That's right. So
So we moved around the town activities to give the chamber 50.
okay, you hear that?
Yes, everybody's way bigger than just $500 budget. It's a multi-million-dollar budget. For us to sit here and speak about $500. That's the only change they made.
So
That's quite ridiculous. But it's fine.
So several of the things that you mentioned, the EDC, the fire department, the Juneteenth, the pad activity stuff, all are very good valid points. What I'm trying to encourage or ask or say is that we can amend the budget. We get closer to next year this time and we see that there's more money that could be allocated to Juneteenth, it could be brought to a discussion.
So I think, I can speak on Juneteenth. Juneteenth actually had money left over this year, because we actually, charged the vendor this year, which in the past few years they were free, so we actually had money left over.
I think Juneteenth is still underfunded. There's a lot more that can be done. Should the carnival rides for kids. A lot more things that can be added in addition to just text. Then you selling food.
I heard it was an awesome event and I think Shelley was right along with it and she was saying earlier that it was an awesome event. Here again, this is time we need to entertain a motion to pass our budget. We have a motion from Mr. Taylor. Is there any further discussion? Or do we have a second? I guess if we gotta have a second, we'll have no more discussion. We have a motion, Taylor, and a second by Mr. Corbin. Now, is there any further discussion?
Thompson Mill rate, is that the same as last year?
Yes, sir.
This is in here either.
What was that? I can't remember.
About the constant yield rate, so we passed that a couple of months ago. Right? That we had to have it set so the state could know what our tax rate was. So it did not change. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. All opposed? Passes with majority vote. Budget passes. Make sure we get signatures from all our commissioners on the mitigation and the budget again. So now, entertain a motion to adjourn legislative session. So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, all approved, aye. We are adjourned. We're gonna move right on and, call to order, our work session for the town of Prince Sam Tuesday, June 20th, 2023, 6 P M. We'd like to entertain a motion to accept the agenda.
So move.
Any amendments to the agenda?
Yeah, I would like to amend the agenda to add, short rates of college.
For waiting.
College.
We also, there's a letter we had that we would like to discuss about, sending out to our town residents about the actual collection policy, picking up the trash and stuff. We would go out with the bill that's coming up, so we'd like to add that to the discussion here. We should see if we can like that. And I'm gonna have a brief statement as well, go along with. Those changes can be, make them, have a motion and a second, and the amendments, if they're what good with the amendments presented. All in favor, aye? Very good. So we're gonna start off, with our Somerset Landing drainage update. Josh Taylor, thank you for your patience waiting on us to get to this point.
No problem. I'll be quick. So it's just an update on our progress. I was here a couple months ago, and since then in May, we submitted a proposal. The town worked through their budget, and in June, that was early June, that was approved. We're on the survey schedule. The survey from there, they've done their background research on Mount Vernon, Beyond Road. We should be, they were hoping end of the month, but I was thinking based on my experience with a certain department, they're probably be early July. This week, we have several rain events planned, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, so I'm gonna bring the stormwater engineer down here on Friday to see where we can see standing water, actually observe how the water is moving or not moving. So we've made progress on the schedule, and hopefully within probably a couple of months from now, probably be evaluated.
And so what does that, within 2 months, we'll get what evaluation of all of that?
The actual evaluation. Once we get the survey data back, then we'll go through all the hydraulics, what more than low points are, and then have perform the evaluation, recommending grading, recommending piping improvements, those kinds of physical projects that can introduce the.
So once they get that evaluation, is that when we can start breaking ground with the project?
So once you got evaluation, that evaluation will make several recommendations on improvements and present budgetary estimates. So then based on any funding that is available to the town or through grants that the town is going after, to choose an option. And then if necessary, go after funding through state or federal agencies. Then go through the bidding process, go through the design and bidding process, then we'll talk about breaking ground. Now, of course, if there's a easy solution that's fairly inexpensive, the town can proceed with, then that's.
So it'll be items that we can start on maybe quicker than others, but we're in the process of all of what we can fund or have funding for to start moving that project where we'll have the information we need.
Okay. I'm sure I'll be back in here again with maps and plans and
Right.
discuss some of those numbers. At that point, you're looking at, you're trying to find the best bang for your buck.
Right.
So you gotta know how many bucks you have. Go to the bank. That's all I have on in terms of land use.
Any of the information that we get out of your survey and all the, and what you call it, the next update. Evaluation, would any of that information lead us in the direction of maybe where some federal or state funding would lie for like specific
Yeah,
situations?
as part of our evaluation, we'll be making recommendations on some funding sources. from the county, state, federal, that the town could go after.
Because I know we've got some funding allocated for that through our ARP money, correct? That's sitting there waiting for this type of project, for those specific project. You know,
Is it designated?
it is. It has been approved for use for that. So. But that was what, former town manager had set in place for how we were going to allocate the use of that money that we had for the next 2 to 3 years.
I know you said that was the priority project.
It was a priority project. One of three, but one pretty much.
And actually having that, that those local funds, it helps you get
That's correct.
additional grant by match.
Actually, the offer funds can be used to match other grants. As part of the stipulation not on the state. So it would be wise for the town. Also, I don't know if it's necessary responsibility of the engineering firm. But for you guys to at least see additional funding from the state, because this is going to be a pretty big project. It's a pretty vast situation. And stormwater drainage systems aren't cheap. Best advice is to not rely on ARPA funding, because it's not going to be enough to cover that project. We've already had a survey done before.
I don't know how much the ARPA fund allocated were, but I agree with you. We should definitely go after state and federal funding.
It seems like there's some sort of urgency to use all the ARPA funding up, you know, but there are other funding out there. There's other funding out there from the state for these types of projects. I would like to see ARPA funding being used for youth employment programs, also small businesses. Also infrastructure, but this infrastructure project is much bigger than the ARPA allocation. You really need state funding for it.
So in past meetings, we've discussed all this, and we understand that, that this is just part of the money we'll need to do everything out there that needs to be done. But it will give us the opportunity to go after some grants and use it. My question was specifically, once we get your evaluation, like then we'll kind of know some specific grants that fall underneath our needs.
Yeah.
To help us with that.
Once you have the recommendations, then there are grants that are out there that are tailored
And
to
form
meet
those
those.
recommendations. So we're definitely on the path of that. We certainly knew all along, but the entire commissioners discussed and talked, and the top 3 things we would like to use that money for was this project that we're talking about tonight. Also, finding a park or some sort of recreational area over it on that side of town, that was another high priority project. So we know none of those funds are all going to reach out there. We're certainly not trying to spend all that money right now. We're holding on to it, not spending it, so that we've got it to use to get funding in place for these projects. So. All right, so certainly be in touch as soon as possible when you let us know when you can tell us more. And
Yeah, I'll update after I visit the site on Friday, just on the status of the flooding and witness, and if there's any specific areas we've got the maps. And then once it's a hard, once we have a hard schedule for the survey, I'll let you know, so you get that in residents know. But be on the lookout for our survey department. And of course, we'll try to explain the report in that. Department.
Any other questions anyone has?
Yeah, I have a question. Wasn't there a survey already performed out there?
Not that we're provided with, not that we've ever heard of.
I think the town received a grant. You go back in the town records, do the recordings. The town received grants, they put out the survey out there, and we were told, I still have the package. We were told by this company exactly what is needed there.
So,
The only thing that they didn't give us exactly was probably the exact scope of the pricing. They gave all the details, exactly what's needed there. They did a complete survey. The town's allocated $70,000 grant to do that survey. Here's where you guys have come along. So I would like to at least pull that survey out. Again,
Josh, this may, jog your memory, if you don't mind, I'll answer the question, try to get an answer for you here. But do you remember when you first came in, the thing that we got and you showed us this is just an initial. Or it's not a complete survey of what we needed.
It wasn't a survey, it was, they took LiDAR imagery, which is plus or minus 2 feet. And you can't design solar based on plus or minus 2 feet. They took free information off the internet to come up with this stuff.
we'll charge $70,000 for that.
I don't know what they charged. We were not involved with the Bayland consultant and designer.
Yeah, that's okay.
I don't know what they charged. I can tell you, we're charging $5,000 for our survey. That'd be real survey.
Right.
Um,
That was a project that came through a grant funding and was completed through that, but at that point, it gave you just information on where we were talking about, basically.
Yeah, this is
So you can read that and then go,
this is a great desktop study that kind of gathers a bunch of information together, but it's not they just use LiDAR, which is free information that you or I could go online, look up. And it's not accurate, it's not much design. And they did make some recommendations in here, but they weren't based on hydraulic activity. They were based on what they had. Again, we looked through this, it's gonna be useful to guide us, but it's not enough to put together a set of plans and try to put a bid together on. But get you permits, put together a bid, construct it.
and that's exactly what you told us the first night you were here talking about doing the stuff that you're doing now.
Like you know, provided.
Yeah. You probably do a lot of this stuff and that.
True, it's true.
All right. Everybody good?
All right. What else? And it's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah, I know. It is moving.
Joey, anything else? I mean, I know we're working on several projects, but they don't seem to be on the agenda.
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, President, Commissioners.
Thank you. All right, so. Park Bureau discussion. Anybody got any? New thoughts to share? We've had a chance to look through all these, the material that's gonna go. Leave on the side of price cutters, is that right? Yeah. Yeah, well, we gotta narrow it down really to one to try to get this part, get the part started. Next time, but narrow it down to two. We narrowed it down to two, so, and I think it was,
And open RSC.
Right.
We got narrowed down, right?
if we can, I mean, we need to move forward to give it, because there's another step, if I'm correct, and what's
The proposals, they're in your binders.
proposal. Once we decide on one, then they have to complete a proposal. And-
Yeah, they had the proposals already. Yeah, they had the proposals already. They're inside of your binders.
Oh, okay.
I love say something at the garden.
Sure, you wanna open up for anyone here that wants to say anything, you guys good with that? Yes, sir, go ahead.
I actually, I'm one of the ones, I'm RC designer print, and I actually provided you an actual detailed proposal that puts, that details everything down to the actual penny or whatever, and everything.
Okay.
So as well as the turnaround time, and especially as far as it's broken down through all steps or whatever, as far as how long or whatever it takes to come up with the beat that you guys back and forth, come up with a detailed sketch or whatever that you guys actually want on the wall or whatever.
Right.
As well as interviews and other things, as well as like civil rentals and all that stuff and everything. And also in their detail explaining why, articulating the lift will be more beneficial than a civil lift or whatever, that would cost a little more money, but they'll save money and time over.
Maintenance of it.
Yeah, well,
Making sure it
and
stays there.
because of that sidewalk, like I went up there, just like looked at it, took consideration the cracks that's on the sidewalk, as far as safety or whatever, operating the system up right there, and everything, I took everything into consideration. As well as insurance on the project, whatever, in case anything goes wrong, whatever, I have my insurance.
Right, okay.
And all the other footwork already been done, you already talked to the whole town, as far as did all the history and got all the stuff where as far as like the different chain of events that had.
Right.
I already have 6 different mock-ups for you guys to start choosing
Okay.
as well.
Want to have any thoughts? How do we want to proceed here? I think it's another one of these, we had it on the front of us several times. What would you like?
I'm the two that we pick. We thank. I like my. See.
You're right.
I also have a wall mural inside of my shop that I'm also working on right now. I said I also have a wall mural, like current work that I'm working on right now inside my shop that we could do well.
Well, you certainly put your homework into it and you're passionate about it, I can tell, so.
Yes, sir.
What, how does everybody else feel? Like,
RC design.
we have a consensus there, so. So, Alexis, I'm gonna ask you to give me a hand on what our next step is, what they're gonna do, what this gentleman's gonna do next.
Okay,
Do you know what that is? What are we gonna do tonight?
I don't have the packet in front of me, but I think I would have to get in contact with him when he will start to get the work on doing the,
Start getting us the designs.
yeah, start getting some designs into us, and then he can start the work.
Getting us designs for us to approve, if you know of anything else. That we
No,
can-
that'd be all that he can start.
We'll try to make sure that, I'm gonna assume that the weather is,
Yeah, but being that,
what's thing.
to be honest with you, being that, my shop is in town or whatever, and being on the sign company as well, weather isn't as much of an issue to me as.
You don't have to come way away to get it.
Because I'm right there or whatever, so it's like nighttime, whatever it is, whatever, with that field across from there, it allows me to use the projector or whatever, so it'll be real fast.
My question about that was is that, we've kind of been pushing this thing along, pushing it along. We made a decision that we don't want you out there middle of November, December, trying to paint a wall, but we try to get this thing.
No, sir, I'm looking at still being able to complete it within the deadline that Clayton or whoever came up with in the beginning, so it shouldn't be no
I
issue.
just want to make sure that we keep it.
I had my art majors or whatever from joining me yes or whatever, the intern under me, and I have some of them that's gonna get engaged. Work.
That'd be awesome.
Also plan on hiring a couple of local people to help out.
Certainly sounds like a great project.
Yes.
Thank you for your passion.
I thank you guys, to be honest with you, it's like, it's a turn that I need in my career, so it works out beyond the money. Beyond the money, it's the project within itself, to allow me a platform to actually put my talent out there because the demographics within this town, I've been here for a while. Like, I like the town. I grew accustomed to it. I got involved with whatever passionately within the town and stuff that took place here or whatever. There's a lot of things that still homes that still like scars that still visible here, or whatever, within people in the community within this town. And I realized that. And I think artwork or whatever, something like that could be a conversation piece or whatever that could allow people to try to heal a bit or whatever, or at least start a conversation, start within that path. It also could bring revenue and everything to the town as well, because according to like how I do the rights or whatever, you guys can start selling, using postcards and different other things as well, that could bring more revenue to the town of, well, more notoriety.
A great marketing tool for us to be able to
Yes,
make
sir.
sure people that it's here and can come and.
Yeah, I'm willing to stay along the whole ride or whatever and everything, so anything that needs to be done for my behalf to help market it better and everything, I'm willing to do, and I'm part of like art programs and stuff that's even cross country or whatever in other countries, so it'll be put out there or whatever.
Thanks. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I think we made a good choice there. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
All right. Lex, we'll be in touch with them right away so we can get started on what we gotta do. All right. Okay, so, the next, you want to go ahead and let's put yours in next, so that, yep, you've been sitting here a while, yeah, maybe so.
I let Miss Taylor know so she can.
Is she ready? Are you ready? All right.
I'm just waiting for Miss Taylor to come to the so she can put that in. Exactly.
Oh, okay.
My name is Rebecca Smith and I am the project director for Shorewood College, which is a program which we are part of, and I have a handout.
Thank you.
So Shorewood College is a program that is part of the Next Generation Scholarship grant program from the Maryland State Department of Education. The program has been administered by It Takes a Village to help our children, which has operated for 14 years in Chrisfield. And currently, we employ 31 people across 4 agencies, including employees in Somerset County Public Schools. Our primary partnership is with Somerset County Public Schools and Shorewood College, specifically serves 10th, 11th, and 12th grade students in Somerset County at the Chrisfield High School and Washington High School to increase college and career awareness. Our summer work program, which is part of our grant through the state, provides summer employment opportunities for students working age with a worker's permit. And actually, I believe this year we're going to be employing a few more than 10, but typically we employ 10 through the summer for at locations in Chrisfield. We also do a job skills training or a soft skills training that is that has been done for us this year and years past by Dr. Gail Winford. And she just completed our job skills, our soft skills training last Thursday. We had 13 students in attendance that took the soft skills training. And some of the things that they did in the soft skills training were conflict resolution, problem solving, time management, working on their resume, their work ethic, talking about teamwork, communication. And so further moving to that, she had them create a resume, which they had submitted to her. And next week, we will be moving, doing mock interviews with our students before having them lined up for interviews with the different work sites around Crestfield. During that work time that we have slated, it's 5-week time period. And this year it'll run from July 10th to August the 11th. Typically, students work 20 hours a week. And each week we get a Friday feedback from the employers. The way that we get our list of youth that we work with, and our work program is primarily based in Crestfield, so it's geared towards our Crestfield students. And I believe that's why Commissioner Johnson and I had a conversation was to present, because I think there's an opportunity here in Princess Anne for what I would call the North End of town. I'm gonna come here. Absolutely love Southern town. And I've seen such good things this year with our school ready college program, when it takes a village. And with the students, that I think if there's an opportunity that it to help us, help facilitate or whatever manner that we can help each other with to help employees do kind of program here in North End that do in Crestfield for the students, giving them those work opportunities. Matter of fact, I had a young lady call me the other day, and she's like, I applied for a job. They asked me if I had any work experience. She's like, I don't have any work experience. They told me I didn't have the job. And I said, that's exactly what our work program lends toward is, that resume building, that work experience that most jobs are looking for. They don't necessarily have or have the opportunity to get. And so they get that opportunity during those 20 hours. And we have several years. This year we're partnered with the library. We're partnered with the Crab Lakes, the Crab Pico. We are also partnered with our consulting service that we work with through the state with our independent consulting service. And we also have just secured Title Health this year. That'll be a new placement for us as well. And everyone seems to be super excited for the students to start, super excited for the opportunity. And I believe that it would be a great opportunity here in county as well.
Okay. You guys, and thank you so much, Rebecca. And so I'm putting on my other hat, and I just want to thank you guys for the opportunity to come here today. As the director for Take the Village. So that's the program that Rebecca was basically telling you guys about. And so we've had the program for about 6 years. And the goal of that grant is that students, when they graduate from high school, they're able to get what's called the Guaranteed Access Grant. And it would give them $19,000 a year for 4 years. So it's a big plus that they can get through the program with like a 2.5 average and all of that. So one of the components that they require is the work program that Rebecca was actually speaking about. And so we've done that for a number of years, and we partnered 1 year with the Chamber of Commerce. We've also had students at the art gallery in different places. And so what we're willing to do, and from our standpoint, because Washington High has been a part of the program always, but we have never had an arm into Princess Anne to be able to find local businesses who would host them. So that's the piece that we are, we did not have in our grant this year, but we'll be able to possibly put it in next year. But if you guys wanted to get a jump start, then the program and what Rebecca is telling you, the pieces are in place for the program. So there's an application that they fill out. Rebecca, what else did you bring? They have an application.
I have
Well, yeah, I'm not sure. It's only one copy, right? So they have an application. Then we do like a memorandum of understanding with the businesses, so the businesses understand what the expectations are from them, from the student and from us in terms of what needs to happen. The parent has to sign a job placement permission form to make sure that they agree with what's happening. And this is a job placement agreement that both the student and parent has to sign. And then there's also a job placement etiquette sheet, which reinforces the soft skills, because we don't send them out there without the soft skills. Because remember, we're talking about 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. So some of them have, like Rebecca said, never been on the work site before. And so that soft skill is a big, big deal. So they have to go through that training before we send them out.
And then we send them out, but then as she mentioned, every week, we talk to the employer to say, how's the student doing? You know, is this working out? You know, is there anything that we need to fix? And so from our standpoint, we would not do the money piece, but we would be willing to facilitate, you know, if you had job sites that were interested in hosting them. It's just below minimum wage. I think usually at 12, maybe, yeah, maybe 13, but it's somewhere between $12 and $13 an hour. So it's not a lot of money, but it gives them an opportunity to start working. And so that's what it really is all about. And we're here to help if you should need that, because we already have those students. And how many students are Washington High right now
We have 154 students that are actively
Participating
participating
in the program, from just from Washington High alone? So the pool of students are there, and I know Commissioner Johnson has expressed an interest in understanding how the program works. And so thank you for the invitation and anything we can do to help, because that's what the program is for. Okay, thank you, guys.
Do you have a breakout of what it would cost for? Welcome.
We keep the lights on, right?
Like if, per student, what you, as far as, amount it takes to fund one?
Oh, man, and I should have brought that number, but basically it's five, I mean, it's not hard math. So it's we have it set up as a 5-week program. Sometimes it's 6, depending on when it falls. It's 5 weeks and it's 20 hours a week, and it's about $12 an hour. So it's not, you know, it's not a lot of money in all honesty, but it's money that's good for them. We teach them how to fill out the W2, W4.
That's what, if we were to go to $12 an hour, 20 hours at $1,200 for.
Yeah.
That gives us an idea of how many students maybe.
If you wanted to start it out. And if you had business to host, that would be the only other thing you need.
That's the benefit of matriculating through the program for the student. So once they complete that program, they'll have access to 19,000 college funding. They have 2.5 GPA. Is that right?
And an income, there's an income requirement as well. So we don't stop kids from participating because we do college tours and things like that. So we let all the kids participate that would like to, but in order to get the specific grant, you would have to have a certain income level as well in order to qualify.
Sounds very similar to the youth employment program I've been pushing for the past 2 years, but it would be great to collaborate to
Yeah.
have many job opportunities available for our youth. I think the youth employment program was projected to be possibly more than $12 an hour. It's going to be $20 an hour potentially, but that's up to the town.
Right,
How
yeah,
much we
yeah.
want to allocate, if it could be 15 or 16 rather than 11 or 12. Just to sort of meet the projected state minimum wage guideline, $15 would be great.
So what I was looking for, the outreach to, Shortways of College. When I learned of the program, it was brought to my attention that Chrisfield has been doing this as far as the summer youth employment fees for a while. Somerset, Princeton Van has never been a part of it, of that part, but we have over 100 students that go to our high school that is participating actively in the program. So with possibly, us being written into the grant for next year, which is about to be written next month, to get grant for next year. If we could come together as a town and jumpstart our children to get some jobs out here, that next year we could possibly do their program, their fund the kids to go in our town for the first time.
Yes, Karen.
I was gonna say, and I talked with Shelley and McCoy about this a little bit too, but with a program like this that's already in operation and ready to go, if you were looking to connect students with potential employers quickly, we could help make those connections with Main Street District businesses for sure. Like I'm willing to help out with kind of facilitating that connection anyway.
And I did speak to McCoy, he absolutely, like, he put meters tonight, like he did once a year, but it was absolutely something that, you know, he was interested as well, and I think, in conversation between myself, the Mantown as well as Rebecca, the campus even came into question as far as placing some kids on the campus, and Squeaky already has a few kids that are already employed with her as well, which next year, instead of her paying short way to college, will actually pay them those hours.
At least 20 hours.
Well, at least up to 20 hours.
20 hours,
20 hours. The employers, but they want them to work more than 20 hours.
Well, doing all the training and all the things that you just talked about that they have to go through and the different, all that, that's a big part of making a successful program. Finding the businesses, I think, that are willing to take on, summer employee for a few weeks to try it out and to give, young person an opportunity to get that job experience. I think that's a big part of it. And then, of course, you know, so the grant could possibly cover it moving forward.
Absolutely. And I can tell you that one of the businesses, which is a newer business to Chrisfield, how long is it?
About 2 or 3 years. Yeah.
The owner of the Coffee Depot, said to me, in a conversation last week, that really, not only gives, you know, the young students, you know, the work opportunity, but it also helps, a new business who, you know, possibly, you know, who need the help and can't get the help necessarily, as we all know, the help shortage, but, and also, you know, kind of helps both of them in the same sense.
There's one, Dave, one I missed. I was curious on how many students are currently participating in Christmas.
This year we have, 15 students.
15, okay, great.
I believe that that we have, who have gone through the soft skills training. And right now we have secured placement for 13 of the
How much room would be allowed for the town if we, that would want to participate? How many, students could we sponsor for this program?
Well, for this year, you guys would make that decision. We would just facilitate like giving out the applications and that whole process. But you guys would decide how much you could cover for this year. We don't have any other funding in the grant for this year. But next year, we would write it into the grant. And of course, next year, unfortunately, is the first year in 6 years, the grant has been competitive. So, but I believe our need will speak for itself and we'll get it again. But it is this is the first year it's gonna be competitive for a while. So yeah, so right now, it would be what you guys decide you want to put in for this year. And next year, we would write in the same amount for both takes. So it'll probably be closer to 10. The only reason that we have a little bit is because we weren't able to do some of the other activities. So we had a little bit additional funding, and so probably gonna be the 13 if we actually do it.
But 10 students a summer or a year is a good goal for you guys. to make.
Yes, that's normally what we do, because we, we don't have capacity to do a lot more because we do have to, keep track of them
And limited employers that can take.
absolutely.
Well, so
Absolutely.
that's the key. You want to make sure you have good employers that are gonna take these students on and give them a good experience for their first time.
That's exactly right. And we're really excited about Title Health because they're willing to take a free into their volunteer program, but we take care of getting them a stipend. Right. Yeah.
I did at one of our young ladies last year, it was part of the program, work for the library. This year, the library is actually hired for
That's
the.
stuff that you want to
Yeah,
get.
that's it. That's exactly what you need. Not come to us. They had already hired and good to go.
I'd say, should at least allocate 13 from the town as well, and consider God with the city of Richmond. Whatever we can do to keep our.
City of Richmond not paying for it though.
Our grant through the state, it's written into the grant. So it just happens to be that our executive director.
Okay. So, go ahead, yes.
I'm so sorry, but she did bring up a good point. The soft skills training that we do has passed, okay, so, and that was a training that's paid for through the grant as well. And in the future, it would be paid for both sites. They would have probably at the same time. So that would be the one piece, and I know you guys may have another way to get that training, but that would be the one piece that you would either have to fund as a lump sum money to the, vendor, or if you have someone else who's capable, you may have in your community of doing soft skill training, then we did a day this year, sometimes it's 2 half a day. you know, but
Is
that's,
that, you're talking about for this year?
Yeah.
Only?
yes, for your.
So you don't actually have any students that are waiting, that have
No.
done that, but, and just don't have a job. For them.
Well, let me, as far as, we don't have Washington High students who have gone through soft skills training. So if you're
But
placing
the
them,
rest of them,
right,
they're
Yeah,
ready, they just have to have that piece.
right, they've been in the program, so, you know, the students that are in the program, but they haven't had the soft skills training. So that's another piece that you guys would have to,
So,
Consider
with
the
the
funding.
soft skills training, with the summer youth employment program that we had set up, that we were, starting here. Walter Woods has a space, which is Hawks Corner,
okay,
so we were using, or planning to use Hawks Corner, and, we had dates set up for that as well. So it was actually already set up for our soft skills training, which I, kind of shared with McCoy today. That, in the future, moving forward, when we're operating under the grant, that we would have to go under you all, under that program, soft training.
right. Well, and that's the training that they're willing to do under us as well, if you would prefer they go through that one, that, it doesn't matter to us what, it just has to have the right tenant, you know what I mean? But if Princess Anne has a separate soft skills training, that would be okay. If something you guys are more comfortable with, then we're okay with that, as long as you're comfortable. Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe much easier for students from Princess Anne
To go through that one.
To go that.
Yeah, and
get
we
that
would be
there.
fine with that.
And that's one of the things that, Mr. Curtis and I was talking about as well, that, you know, that's where he wants to do a really good training program to get them ready.
And that's fine. Yeah.
So I can see where we could certainly,
Oh, yeah.
partner in a lot of ways to make it.
Absolutely.
So what would it cost? I guess we would have to see if there was, you know, what would it cost to get, say, 5 students ready? And how much time before they can start? I mean, we need 5 businesses, we need soft training for 5
And that's,
students.
and the money, and that's
And the
it.
money, and
That's it.
so,
You guys would pay them. Whereas we, you know, normally do that out of our grant, but this time you guys would pay them from your resources. And you would be responsible. We would give you a time sheet where the supervisor signed and the student signed, saying these are the hours, and you would be responsible for paying. We wouldn't take that. I should show they would be paid.
so that would have to go through our staff and
Yeah,
town
yeah,
to do
Yeah,
that this year.
this year only, because we would prefer not to, you know, get involved. in
And if your grant funding right now,
Right.
it's money up the water. so to
Yes, we
speak, right?
prefer not to do that, but next year we'll pay them out of ours just like everybody else. And when they attend other functions that we have, we do stipends and then we pay them. So we had them attend, for instance, there's a summer bridge program that happens. A number of students from Washington High will be participating and Pittsfield together. And that happens on UMBS campus. And that's like getting them ready for college. Specifically ones who just recently graduated or about to graduate, and they get like a crash course of being ready and what resources and what to expect. And we also give them a $200 stipend for attending, because they'll be missing work during that time. So, and then, and we pay them, we'll pay that part too. So that's just another piece of our program as well.
Well, Chris will have a certified soft skills training available, trainer.
Yes, certified, she does soft skills training, she's done that for us for the past.
The town runs into a discrepancy in the future and not being able to
Oh, yeah.
find a person, how much would it cost the town to actually just to train these students? Aside from $1,200 for the 6-week program.
And they would get trained under our program, and we always allow, depending on, you know, what the situation is, how many students will allow up to $2,000 in our grant to make sure that that training gets done. And we do that, you know, and that, but that would cover both sites, that would cover Pennsylvania and Pittsfield as well.
My next concern is, I know the town is a little bit slightly bigger than Crystal in population. So, know that you all have 10 there, allegations, 15. If the town were to sponsor 20 to 25, that was the original idea concept. If we were to sponsor 20 to 25, would this program cover that 20 to 25 next year?
Unfortunately, no, because here's what happened, it's one piece of our grant. So they give us X number of dollars for our grant, and so one of the things we also do is we take them to College Park overnight. And we do like 2 college tours before we get there, but we have to fund that as well. Then the summer bridge program I just talked about, we fund that as well. And then we take them to the local colleges, we fund that, we do SAT training for them. So like if they take the SAT, we did some training that they did through Zoom this year. So we do all kinds of other things. So our grant is only so big. So this is just one piece of it. So right now, we only have 10 in, but I'm willing to ask for more money to be able to get 20 in, so that I can do it on both ends, but some other things may be cut back in order to do that, but I'm comfortable that we're gonna make sure that it's equitable on both sides, if you guys can find a location. We will at least find it to be equitable on both ends of the county.
What I've just handed you is our end of the school year newsletter, so that you can kind of see
Some of the
different,
things that
the
we
different activities that we've already, that we've done. And we recently put an article in the newspaper, about the, overnight college tour that we did.
We also have a few companies in our industrial park deal with software manufacturing. I remember participating in a similar program to this when I was in high school. I worked at Harvard Customs in Salisbury. They assembled airplane parts. So even if we could bridge some of these students in, there are companies in the industrial park, along with the industry, they'll have a diverse working experience on what they can pick and choose from. Also, a local nursing facility for students who want to pursue nursing, things of that nature, maybe a local construction company.
So our mission would be to find the businesses that would take. The number of students that we would want to. Sponsor.
And hopefully it wouldn't be so hard the next year, because you'd have a base.
Right, that's, it's almost the end of June now, and we're, cutting into the, summer, trying to pull this together, make sure that soft skills training is done. And still have time to be able to get through, a 5-week program, job program.
So you're good, we're starting July the 10th in
Okay.
reality,
Okay.
so it's a normally a 1-day training, unless you guys wanna do more, that'd be your choice, but it's a 1-day training normally, so. They'll do.
So have you guys done your training at this point?
Yes,
Oh,
I think we
okay.
are.
Okay.
So the soft skills training is just a 1-day training.
For us, it was a 1-day training, absolutely.
Is that something I know before and folks have kind of talked about, and that's what he would like to provide. I'm not sure he actually has that program in place, or is that right, Charlie, that he actually has?
I think the only issue was that he was still looking for, office equipment. This was correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that was our last conversation on some equipment. So I've actually put a request out for unused office equipment on campus.
But because of this year being different than maybe moving forward, and we don't have much in place, really, it's firmed up and trying to through this, with the person that you used, and she, we could be discussed with her, to opportunity for her to do the same thing here.
If you need her, I'm sure you could,
Oh.
she's out of town, I'm not even sure if she'd be back and what that.
It's
costs
just as
would
an
be.
option,
She could work with it.
we could pull it together, but what that would cost too, because that's an additional cost on top of what we're gonna be paying.
Right. And if you're struggling with that, you guys let me know, okay, because there's a possibility that we could assist with paying for that if you have to use it. So we probably couldn't pay the whole thing. but we
Our
could probably-
our situation right now is that we're going from one budget to that, everybody is, but we're just getting one out of one and into another, trying to make sure that everything washes out and stays on level, so how much money we have left, and we just discussed earlier about the possibility of amending the budget if necessary. So that would be the process we have to take at some point going forward to make sure, we can do that.
I would also like to, Mr. President, inform the other members of the council that the town of Princeton has allocated $1.8 million for federal and state government department funding. You don't necessarily have to go into the town's budget. There's specific funding allocated through ARPA to help stimulate the economy, which we can very easily cover for 10 students at a rate of $1,200 per student.
That was at $12 an hour for 20 hours for 5 weeks.
Right, that's only $12,000, and the town has been allocated $1.8 million to help stimulate the economy and create jobs. So I don't think the financial side is an issue. The town has funding to fund something like this very easily. It wouldn't come out of taxpayer dollars, it would rather come out of the ARPA fund that's been allocated.
I mean, just to make a real clear point, that is also taxpayers' money, but,
Not directly
um,
through the town,
okay, well, that's fair.
For reasons like this, I just thought the rest of the members of the council should know that.
But we're all aware of that money we had several discussions about what we were doing there. I'm willing to, let everybody talk and discuss anything. Maybe they want to make that decision this evening, or you want to?
I feel we should make a decision, because this is something that's been on the table before, and I feel like this program is a way to get us jump started, and even if we continue on with the other youth employment program that was presented by Mr. Report in the future, if they can't send out 20 children, maybe we can get 10 in the one program and 10 in this program. So the more the merrier, and this side of the town, the north end of the county is actually larger. So we do have more youth and we have more job opportunities on this end, but I feel that we should definitely move forward.
All valid points.
There's a small friend call, not a lot, but
A what?
a small friend call, but it's next.
Doesn't necessarily have to be said.
But it's saying that this is not the fund, they take more than one.
I agree as well. I agree to go through with it. Have an eye from Commissioner Taylor here. I think Commissioner Johnson is going to agree to what's involved.
Everybody, everybody's in agreement where that's fine. Can we just also, while we're all here, just agree, let Dell and I work on where that money is gonna come from, whether it be ARP out of a contingency fund, or where we bring that money from. Let you guys know it first. I mean, is that a proper way to do that, Paul?
Yeah.
So that we can just, on the accounting end of it, make sure where we're getting that from and where we.
So we agree to that we gonna, for 10 students.
At 10, what she's all about is 12. It sounds like it's a little extra. We might figure out a way to get soft skills thing done. So, we allocate 15, and then if it comes in under $50, we say $50. Is that all right? Something like that. Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying that sounds like maybe $3,000 would be enough for us to do everything else on top of just being able to pay the 10 students.
I'm sorry.
So if we're gonna say we want to sponsor 10 students,
Okay,
we don't have an exact number other than the pay that would go out, which would be 12,000, right? I just want to know what we're allocating, what we're trying to go here is up to 15,000, so we can spend between the 12,000 and up to get the soft skill training done and any other fees that are associated with that part of it.
I don't think there's any other cost, but I could think of off the top of my head, if we have any other cost.
That gives us an idea of what we gotta try to find, where we gotta find to move it to the right place. So, that sounds fair. All right. Thank you very much for your presentation. It's great work, and we certainly hope, we'll have more discussions about making sure we're in on what our part can be.
Yeah.
Going forward for next year to grow it on this end of the county.
Thank you guys so much. We want to make sure that we work on both ends.
That's right. Thank
Appreciate you. Take care. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Right. So, very good. So we've got another discussion about the charter changes concerning presidents and commissioners. I'm gonna start this discussion off if it's okay with everyone. That sort of falls, and you'll see why this falls into the discussion we already have, but last Tuesday, I'll just say I had a really rough day. Started off rough and it didn't get any much better. There was a lot of things going on. A lot of things that happened prior to that. With, just trying to run my business as well as trying to come in town hall and help make sure things got done here. Very stressful time and, I, had a phone call from Mr. Frederick with a request that, I didn't handle very well. And I was out of line. And, I have always said many times here that as a commissioner, I felt I needed to hold myself to a higher standard because of that responsibility and that privilege to be elected as a county commissioner. And, in this particular instance, I failed at that. And I said some things and I had, some words I said to Mr. Frederick that were uncalled for, and I would just like to publicly apologize to him for that incident. Because,
You don't mind telling the public what you said, do you?
so I'll put it this way, it's, I used a few choice words that I wouldn't want my mother to hear me say. I'll leave it at that. Like I said, I do apologize, Mr. Frederick, for that behavior and will not happen again.
Yeah. I just, apologize to myself, but also to the public, you know, and,
This was not a phone call to the public. This was not out in public at a meeting. This was a phone call between me and you.
I'd like to have a chance to speak without being interrupted. Whenever you're done, I'll allow you to finish speaking, and then I'll speak, and then I'll prefer for you not to interrupt. So I'll allow you to finish. There you go.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'd like to use your historic words. Need something with more teeth and grit in it. Public apology. Just as a acceptable, I've always tried to conduct myself professionally. In meetings and among my constituents, among fellow commissioners. Not once have I used the type of language my entire 9 years of service. It's slandered and crucified by the local media. Even when people who had opposing views to myself, I've never spoken to them with the type of language that you used for me. I was doing my job, conducting it as a commissioner for the people who I was elected by. Doing my job, what I was trying to do. I don't feel that I deserved that from you that day. I called you very politely in a very diplomatic, professional way. The words that you chose to use against me were just outright despicable. Words that aren't part of my vocabulary. I never used to support anyone. So maybe you felt really bad, but someone chose to use that sort of language toward me. So in light of that, I would like to call for a censure because you're clearly in violation of the town charter. As a commissioner, you violated the code of conduct. Anyone else typically, if they commit a crime, do something in violation, they're punished for it. You shouldn't be allowed free pass either. I had done something wrong, would have been front page all over the Eastern Shore Mail. And the things that you've done are far higher level, well deserving of a censure from the council. So that violation of you violating the charter and the code of conduct, it's only right that the council be censored before your inappropriate language and disruptive behavior. And this report tonight, while we have our attorney here, I would like to call for a motion to censor because of that violation of the charter. Way they feel they're supposed to interact among each other here at the table. That's the way we should act at all times. You're no different from me. And if I'm censored for something, you should be censored for your acts as well. So with this part, under your violation of the code, conduct and the charter, I call for a motion that we out the suspension by the council.
A motion on the table.
There, second.
Or speak now. Speak, but we can second. Matter. And others go ahead and discuss it now.
And also, like, you
For a
mentioned
second.
to the public exactly some language that you chose to use in the call. You can tell them your job as the president. is to
We have a motion.
Job as the
We'd like to discuss it.
lead the town.
Like to have another discussion.
And the language that he used to me that day, trying to do town business, conduct business, you tell another commission to figure shit out, walk on your own.
Excuse me,
That's
sir. We're not gonna.
That's very.
That's all you just said you didn't use.
No matter what you
You
said.
just said you didn't use that language.
Exactly.
There's a young
Like,
fellow
that's
in the room.
what- that's very appropriate, but the public should know
Yeah.
exactly what he said. And that's exactly why the president could be censored for
Okay.
using that type of.
I have given you.
Never use that.
I think it's you again.
Thirdly, credential.
You have made a motion.
It's very despicable. It sounds bad, doesn't it?
You have made a
It
motion.
sounds very bad. That's exactly why you feel allowed to get away with it.
Do we have a second? Or do we have more discussion? Is that what we want to have? We don't have more discussion.
No one else is allowed to use it. He shouldn't be allowed to use me.
You didn't have a party in Cherry. You should call it the language. I don't think it's that's it. It's not really down, that's been-
I mean, when we first came up with this deal, you know, we had a zero tolerance on for a couple months ago. The last one, whatever, we didn't have to conflict. I didn't say what, you know, the president did was gone. But, we see instances where we get, you know, there's been name called, nothing been done about it. I know everybody has a bad kid. And I understand that, you know, right is right, it's all the time. Well, I mean, we don't, you know, we don't stick by it. We don't stick by rules, I can understand, you know, move the rules. I mean, when we did apologize, probably. I mean, I don't just call you apologize, to call people names. I mean, but it is, you know, it is what it is. I mean, so we just. You know, we had said, you know, we had said there, I mean, you know, that is right. So we have to. Stick by our, stick by our guns, no tolerance. Not place, no place for it, you know, the workplace or amongst each other, we need respect. Hopefully moving forward. Hopefully moving forward, we can be able to. Act like adults. And the business is, you know, you got a lot on our plate. We, you know, they sit there, we can, you know, bring it back for each other. You know, with nonsense. Like I said, everybody has their days. Right, and I'm not, you don't know what it is, right, I'm wrong. But it is, you know, it is what it is. You know, so we all agree to. We all agree to have no tolerance, we respect one another. That's what we have to do.
Well, we did agree to zero tolerance, but I don't think that we should discuss it the language. Because we have a child, I think that's what we use, but. You know, not having discussion.
Yes, pardon me for discussing that. I didn't see the young kid over there, but I'm sorry. to leave him in.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion passes.
Mr. Wood, you will, you write up a proclamation, whatever it's written. The commission will also decide on our next public meeting.
I don't want a proclamation.
Motion have made, passed. I think the minutes cover
Something in writing. When I was sent, there was something in writing, whereas that was mentioned of this approved possession, whereas the charter was violated, and whereas the code of conduct was violated. Want something in writing like that, the commission decide, so that Brett. Take it decide, it was for me.
it can be written up.
Yes, sir. And I'd like a public be read at our public meeting. Not for me. Yes, sir, that's part of the section, that's the project, taking the last time.
Citizens, with you guys for that?
I'll rate it.
All right. So. Leading into our next item on the agenda here is about our order changes. How to handle. Not necessarily the first time that. Something like this happens, but if it continues to happen. What and if there's anything beyond the section that we can. Sum that up pretty well is what we're trying to do here with the charter. If anybody had an opportunity to read through what we've had, Paul, when you prepared something for us.
Well, what I thought, I just summarize, all those, handouts given to the council. What was contained in all those handouts were from different towns throughout the state. One thing that you can put in the charter is a recall provision where a certain number of voters in the district or in the town, that 20%, if they file a petition to recall the commissioner, then that petition has to be certified at the Board of Elections, and then it produces a recall election. If a commissioner loses that election, then there's another election to elect a new commissioner in that position. That's one thing that is in some charters, not all. Then there's sections in charters, we talk about forfeiture of office. And there seems to be three areas they touch on. Number one would be real obvious if a commissioner is no longer qualified to hold the office, such as moving out of town. That would be a forfeiture of the office.
That is currently in our charter, correct?
It's gonna tell you what's in all these as a general statement. A second item that can result in forfeiture of office is conviction of a felony or a crime of moral turpitude. Crime of moral turpitude is like theft. Example. A third area that the towns have in all these is if the commissioner fails to attend, the most common number was 3 consecutive meetings without being excused by the council. Obviously, if somebody was medically incapacitated, they would be excused. But those seem to be, you look at that package, the 3 areas that can result in forfeiture of office. In other words, you're no longer qualified. There's one. One's conviction of a felony or crime of moral turpitude. And 2, the third one is fails to attend a certain number of meetings, often 3, without being excused by the remaining members of the county. So if you wanted to put provisions like that in the town charter, you can. But that's 3 immediate, rural, 3 total. There's. What's in these charters are those 3 reasons to forfeit the office. Okay, you said something about previous meeting. Yeah,
Consent.
what's in other charters is if we miss 3 consecutive meetings without being excused by the remainder of the council. And then the 4th one was that first one, a recall provision. That a recall is brought on by the voters, whether it's your district is a whole town or a district in the town. That would have to come from the voters through a constituent starting that. That doesn't come from the council.
One of the provisions of that recall stated something like, if it's an at-large seat, then it's 20% of the entire time. If it's a ward or a district, that's 20% of those districts.
Yes. That's the way these are set up.
Okay, so that's way in the disqualifying a commissioner, okay, what about?
In that case, we still have to have an election, right?
Yeah.
So technically,
It produces a recall election. If that's successful, then there's a new election. That's,
so that can be used against any member of recall at any time, pretty much, right?
that's correct.
That's voter driven.
That's voter driven. That's not from the commission.
Yes.
Well, no,
I mean, my question was, what about commissioners that are reading behind this? Like, is there any kind of way you like expulsions or suspensions or anything like that? Anything in there?
about suspension.
Yeah,
Okay. In your code of conduct that you have already. If there is disruption in a meeting, that could result in either a commissioner being asked to leave the meeting or a commissioner being removed from the meeting. That's already in you. That's meeting by meeting by meeting.
yeah, I was talking about like, it's something just continuing. You know. Constantly, you know, disrupting, prevent somebody for about a month, 60 days, or something like that. Anything, is there anything saying anything like that?
I'm not sure I'm hearing everything.
I think what you're
Right, so-
trying to is removing from a meeting. I think what he's advocating is like, can you like terminate for a certain amount of time, like suspension, like 3 meetings.
Oh, a suspension, okay. There's nothing in the code. In your code of conduct, that's a suspension, it's not in here. There's provision, as I say, for each meeting, you can be expelled from a meeting.
Well, let me ask you this way, if someone is expelled from 2 meetings, 3 meetings, is there something more that can happen other than the expelled from a meeting? Or if they're censured a certain number of times, can they then be, is there some other, like, they don't get paid for a month, they can't come to a meeting for 2 meetings or something like that? Is there anything other than censure or using someone from a meeting? That's,
What you're saying is a record of building up. Exposure.
because at the 3rd censure, you're not learning your lesson, so there's something else you can do that can be done.
Suspended. I have to say, I don't see that in this package, that approach. If you get 2 or 3 traffic tickets, then your license is suspended for a while. That's the concept. I think we're talking about.
Yeah, right.
Is there also something we can put in the charter for timing limits so that everyone has their fair time, they can be able to yield or use the time if they choose not to. They don't use their time and choose not to speak, but I think every commissioner should be allowed a certain number 2 minutes to speak, rather than being cut off
I think-
in time.
The town already has.
Been putting it on as disruptive, chair is not allowing other people to fairly speak, get the point across.
Yeah, as far as the time limit on speaking, that's already in your rules. So that's what I have to give you tonight. You don't have to have any answers tonight unless you want to. Authorize me to prepare something.
Sometimes if you try to dig a hole for someone else, you'll be the one to fall in. What you got to remember that, please, anything you change in the chart, you use on anyone at this stage.
Do we have anything in our charter that touches on any of those four things that you said?
You do not have a recall. To me, it's a given. If you're no longer qualified, like you move out of town, you can't hold the office. You vacate your office.
Is that in writing, or does it need to be in writing? I thought it was 6 months. But then I thought that's what.
Also, employees of the town, to work for the town, we're gonna allow them to be able to run in our town elections. Because in the charter, clearly states employees of the town must resign. But that's not the case. Employees of the town are actually been allowed to run in these town elections without that time. That's simply tampering with the elections.
Then what we were looking at was what happens with commissioners.
Have some employees, you have a rough.
So we're gonna stick, we are gonna stick to the subject. And if you feel like I'm interrupting you, that's because we're getting off subject. That's the only reason. But we're, can we put, like, when we just asked, when I asked about the steps, could we put that in our charter or in our code of conduct?
I'll say this, I think you could, the idea of say, so many censures equals a suspension or a meeting or two. I think we could be. It's all about disruptive behavior.
Can we hold the pay? Can we take away the pay or donate it to a good cause?
That I hesitate about taking.
Can you explore that a little for us a little bit, research?
That off the top of my head. I'm hesitating.
So you said that, removing from a meeting for disruptions and things of that nature is already in our charter.
Yes, that's already in the charter.
So we're amending a charter and that we're not already we're not implementing what's already in it.
If you have disorderly conduct. And want to either ask a commissioner to leave or you have a commissioner removed. That president. Or
If common sense in one of them.
you could set that up for either the president or majority.
I was under the impression that we didn't have anything, but if we have that in place.
So it would be a majority.
The majority. Yeah.
I could read the sentence where it's false. If the member continues such offending behavior, the chair or any commissioner may move, make a motion. That the offending member be expelled from the meeting for disorderly conduct. So that says to me, it's a majority vote on a motion. Such expulsion motion shall be adopted upon the affirmative vote of the majority of those remaining commissioners, excluding the offending member. If the offending member refuses to leave after a motion for expulsion is passed, police employed by the town can carry out the expulsion order at the direction of the chair. That's what the code of conduct says.
So to what extent does the police officer go? Like, does he just remove them or is that a arrest? Like what happens?
No, that's a removal. That's a
Okay,
taken by the arm walking.
unless you're.
Afterwards. The other part of that is the disruptive conduct by a commissioner continues. The chair may, at his or her discretion at any stage, call for a motion to immediately recess the meeting to reconvene at a fixed time and place which shall be publicly posted. So again, that's a motion and a vote by a majority of the council. That's the way the code of conduct now reads. What do we want to pay to each other?
Well, he just asked what we wanted to add to it, so I think that recall section was something we don't have, correct?
Right.
Make sure it's clear about not living in town.
If you don't have the recall and you don't have the 3 consecutive meetings. Or the conviction of felony or a crime of moral turpitude, you don't have that. We could do one section on all of them. But recall is a separate thing, but forfeiture of office is another section.
And we'll
I can draw something up and you all can take a look at.
we'll look at also after a certain number of.
Yeah.
So.
Suspension.
Are you good with that? And we'll reconvene on that again.
Take a look at, I'll draw something up and you can take a look at it.
All right. So for our legislative meeting in July, we have.
Got censor on there.
We have,
We also do something about town employees running in town elections. Clarify that, and that's clearly a charter violation.
this is a legislative meeting, so we're gonna be looking at legislative items to.
Also, the board of elections. Well, they can see there, at least pursue on that.
Read that can certainly, we got another work session in July, so we can certainly put those kind of things on the work session. Anybody else have anything for our legislative session? I will mention that the legislative session is slated for July 3rd, which is a Monday. Followed by July 4th, which is a holiday. It has been done in the past that when holidays such as that are real close to Monday meeting or fall on a Monday, that the meeting is moved afterwards to give people who were traveling or out of town and miss that meeting. So it's up to you guys if you would like to change that meeting date. I think the 5th would be as far out as you want to go, right? The 3rd to the 5th. So
You typically either go ahead a day or you drop down a week. Your call. It's just key to it is you want to have public notice.
Right.
So everybody knows that
when you start the way it's done.
on your agenda.
It's like one item right now.
I'm asking that we move it to the 5th. Definitely. From the 4th of July.
And in full disclosure, I will be traveling back from vacation on the 5th, so I will not be here. I think we be there at around 5:45 PWI. So
And I'll be traveling back on the 3rd.
So,
And I'm traveling back on the 3rd.
So the July meeting has been already set. You haven't been set date for it.
so it's July 3rd unless we decide we would like to add to a different date. I just wanted to, in all fairness to everyone, because of the motion that you guys had, I didn't want to not be here on the 5th and you guys don't know that. That's why.
Well, I won't be here on the 3rd.
And Paul, you said the other option would be moving to the next week. So that would make that date.
We can't be at the, we can't attend the meeting on the 3rd.
I can't.
Okay.
Two people that can't get available.
I don't think that's. You're certainly welcome to leave it at the third. I mean, it's a majority consensus on when we move it or leave it.
I'm gonna be on vacation, we don't know where I went to do. I mean, right now, I ain't got nothing planned, so.
Next Monday would be the tenth. So what you're saying, move it to the tenth as opposed to the third? Either the fifth or the tenth.
So it sounds like where you're going. The key to it is public notice.
Right, yep.
Everybody knows when it's gonna be.
Holiday week, people are coming back anyway, so. Maybe check might be better.
I will be in town on the tenth.
You're gonna have, people still be, students will still be out. Traveling back.
Big travel week for people too. So are we good on the tenth of July? All right, so the meeting will be on the tenth of July and we'll have a censure. Is there anything else?
We also reach out to the local media about the censor. I'll be advertising it on Facebook, social media.
Okay, so we have a meeting set for July 10th for a second. All right. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn and we're gonna go. I'm sorry. Oh, my goodness, thank you. Yes. Just with added to so you're good call, saving James. So, this is a letter that we had sent out, back in 2021 concerning, what was allowed when people put their trash in, how did that process would work the best for the town to make sure we're cleaning up things, everything that we need to do. This letter could probably use some rewording a little bit. I'll read one paragraph here. Enough to make transition. Is the town will exercise discretion with portion of the maximum size requirement. Set forth with the can reasonably comparable to a 30-gallon container established collection. We had talked, James and I had talked, and I think he's discussed this before, that the size container is not as important as
long as it has a lift.
they have a hydraulic lift that helps them with certain kinds of cans. They have a little bar across the front or a little lift that can slip under and pick up. So that will allow people to have a larger can to accommodate their trash. We had talked about, we discussed months before about how many cans. Should there be a limit?
As long as it's bagged up, 4 or 5 cans.
So if we put a limit of 4 cans or 5 cans, if everybody agrees, or whatever, that seems reasonable enough twice a week. Seems reasonable enough twice a week to accommodate most families and households. The cans must be in bags. They can't just have loose trash in the can. When that can goes lifted up on the can, if the bags are loose, the trash is gonna go everywhere. These guys are doing a tremendous job to stay on top of it and provide us with 2 trash pickups a week for $140 a year. Do your math and think about that. That is a good deal. We'd like to try to keep it that way. But we need the cooperation. They need your cooperation to make sure that they're safe in doing their job and it can be efficient at it. Is there games you pitch in or anything else I've forgotten that we maybe talked about putting in this?
No, as long as everything is bagged up nice and neat and so they don't like the regular trash cans.
So I think James, the last discussion, it came up about like the wind and the lids when they blow. And we're not home and they run in the street and they ran over and broken. So is that gonna stop us from getting the trash picked up without the lid?
Well. It's a good question, but no, it shouldn't. I mean,
So let's, well, we should be clear, we would prefer, you guys prefer to have the lid on the can because of keeping the cats or varmints out of the cans and getting certain, maybe if you get new knocked over or whatever. But obviously with most of the Rubbermaid cans, 30-gallon, 35-gallon cans, those lids are detachable and it can be knocked off, it can be end up in the road, whatever, so,
but the guard would put the legs back on.
well, that would be of course, they can't be back there when it gets blown off again after they leave or whatever. Yeah, that's a great question, Kelly, and I think we could just discuss, how would be fair for everybody, I mean, we don't, if the bags are tied up and they're in the can, that's your main concern, right?
Yes. So it don't blow all over the place.
I don't think the lid should create any sort of,
I mean, if you set the trash out that morning. And the guys come around that morning, the lid shouldn't be that big of a problem, you know what I'm saying?
it shouldn't be,
No,
you're right,
right,
right.
yeah.
Things happen when you got 1,000 cans out there, something's gonna happen to one of them. You know, it's gonna happen. We also had talked about how we're gonna handle it if people did not put trash in their cans. If they just refuse to do it, kept putting it out there, would we stop picking up their trash? Or would we give the issue into the fine?
First, they would get a citation and that.
The warning citation would come first and, maybe along with whatever letter we have, we can put that copy in, so in case they just didn't have it, and you know, opportunity to understand why.
Yes.
And make sure that's in there, and then citation, a fine. We have a fine in place right now at all,
Not right yet, me and, Ron is working.
so we need to come up with a fine fee or whatever we want to do. Is there any discussion here at the table as to what we think would be a fair fine or?
That's all, the tag on the ground.
Yeah, and repeat, even after being warned and reminded this is how it's done. Not trying to do it the first time it happens, but
First offense should be a warning, second offense is $25 fine, third offense $50 fine. It's increments.
Except for-
First offense is a warning, second offense, you actually give them a fine of $25, and the third offense would be a fine of $50. Probably the best way to do it. Fine of $200 for the first offense.
you guys got any ideas?
I just say just keep it at 25 and then look at.
Just 25 every time, is that better?
They pay another $25. $25. They pay another $25 bill stop.
Yeah, I would agree with that, $25 expense. It's the person that is at least got more things to do with people.
And we could make some exceptions and like doing like maybe Thanksgiving, Christmas, they have a lot of, extra trade.
We wouldn't put pressure on those days because it's gonna be a massive amount of traffic.
Just like going into that.
Everybody should have to go and buy brand new trash cans at one time a year.
Yeah.
Is that something, because I always like, if we're gonna do it one way, I'd like to see it in writing, I would say. Is it okay to kind of have that discretion around holidays? Or without saying that, or, I mean, then you're backing off of what you're setting in place. Yeah. Maybe can we specify that? For those?
I think you should.
Okay. What would be your big holidays? Christmas, obviously,
Christmas,
Thanksgiving.
Tuesday.
We need to have the specific holidays that we're allowed, we're gonna be more lenient on it.
Especially Juneteenth.
Okay.
That's a good holiday.
All right, well, what we would like to do, folks, is, be able to get this letter, when does the trash bill go out, Alexis?
The first week of July.
The trash bills go out.
Mhm.
It'd be tough to get this together by then, right?
But you're gonna have a fine. That needs to be. A letter about.
Okay, what we said.
We can send a letter.
Okay, so we get the letter together with, and we're gonna have a list of the holidays that you know are busy. You need, that will go in that letter as well. We're gonna spell it out, and that's gonna be our policy for the trash people. And then we'll need to have discussions in July.
Fine.
If we start to find them, we need to get that indicated, so that'll be certainly can we do that, since we only have one item, in July, can we discuss that during that meeting to get the fine set? Or whatever, or should we hold that off for work session?
Technically, it should go to war session.
During July work session.
We had to figure out a way to, how to enforce it, we not enforce it on. Force collecting the money, the ones that are fine.
That's how we set up the fine.
We put fine in the code, and then the code has a section about fines for various kinds of things.
How to enforce on, we put on force to get the money. It's the reach word, it's the address. The homeowner.
We had some kind of tickets from the driver.
And he said, have to fight to get to where the homeowner would, because a lot of them homes are rentals. They want to go to the landlords.
So much in the other, thing we covered earlier, right, trash collection.
I think your concern is, you don't know who all the tenants are, but you could look up in the records and see who is on the property.
Yeah, so we know we send the citation to. And collect it.
The owner of the property can always have to release that any trash fine to the tenant. That's,
Yeah, with the living tree bill, right?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
So we'll have that as well. Ready for.
we can.
To do the work that, we'll get the letter out and ready to go. You can send that, I can email it to everyone, where you can make sure that it's good before it goes out, or.
Yeah.
Make sure Jamie goes.
Copy, we can go back and forth.
Is that what we need to do as commissioners to see it before it goes out, or just let you guys have it?
Fine.
I'll make sure let you know it's a good look at it. That's all. All right. Very good. So I think that, that is that discussion now, entertain a motion to adjourn and go into closed session. We have personnel and real estate reason for the closed session. So someone. All approved.